Hello guys, Sue Jerry speaking. Excuse the vacuum in the background. We're gonna do tape and Elch for React episode number 674 like we promised to for the audience. But today we react to Purple Road episode number 73. Sharon Randi from Sharon, Lewis, and Bram of Children's Musical Group. Let me turn up the volume for you guys out there since the vacuum's been going on in the background. Okay? And hold on, let me turn it up so you can all hear it. And we're gonna react to this, okay? Stand by. It's gonna let me click on it, so stand by. Come on, there we go. Good. And we react to this begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm Carrie Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the Dinosaur on tour and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show Barney and Friends.
Okay.
Now my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation.
Wow.
I'm Carrie Stinson, and this is Purple Roads.
Wow. Okay.
Welcome to Purple Roads. My name is Carrie Stinson, and I'm so glad you're back this week. We have some legend. We have a legend here this week.
Wow.
Sharon, Lois, and Bram. You'll know all their songs. You know all their music. And we have Sharon and Randi here today. Sharon, Randi, how are you?
We're great. We're doing okay. Thank you.
And you're up in Toronto.
We are, and we are still in lockdown, COVID lockdown here, which it's been a long year and a half, and we're grateful to have each other because it helps to make the time pass in a really enjoyable way.
Well, and we'll talk about that because I know you've stayed creative during this process, and done some concerts, some Zoom concerts, which I know a lot of people have done, and I know that connects you with your fans. How has that been?
It was really lovely to be able to do that, sort of unexpected pleasure. But we did it together with Randi's sons as well.
Wow.
One of whom is a musician, the other's a really good singer. They're both good singers, and a couple of their friends as well. So it was a real family experience. And doing it on Zoom and being able to see the audience with people dancing, father and child dancing together, that sort of thing is significant. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
We only did a couple, but they were great.
Yeah, I think it's so fascinating how the creative people really figured out ways. We're so used to being in front of crowds and so used to talking to people, and I think we all kind of found interesting ways to talk to people and communicate and stay connected.
Well, Bram had just retired, and we were about to start touring. We had a bunch of concerts lined up, and the pandemic hit. And right at the beginning of the pandemic, we thought we need to do something. So we got on Facebook, and we just did a little a cappella live of songs that were familiar, and thousands of people started saying, when are you going to sing again? And can you do another concert? So we did Facebook for a while, and then we just were desperate to actually see people. And Zoom has become the platform for really connecting. So, it's a challenge.
Wow.
And sometimes we'll do little Q&As with people, or an afternoon of requests, just different ways for us to interact in a creative way.
It's really,
you have to realize it doesn't pay the bills.
Wow.
I mean, when you talk about creative expression, and it's very impressive. Certainly, I see here in Toronto we have a film industry, and they have found a way to continue to function as a film industry with very serious protocols. So that's a business that keeps going. But the theater industry, the live concert industry, all of that is shut down, and that's a terrible hardship. Some people have the opportunity to do, as we did, some Zoom concerts, which gives you some creative fulfillment, but a lot of people don't. And so there are a lot of people who are hurting during this period.
Well, we had another one of your fellow Canadian groups on here, Splash and Boots.
Wow,
And
yeah.
they have done an amazing job as well of finding ways to be creative and stay connected with their fans as well.
Yeah, they're lovely. Nick and Tess actually made a special guest appearance at one of the Sharon and Bram farewell concerts, and then
Wow.
Sharon and Bram re-recorded "Hey Dum Diddly Dum" with them. Um, but Tess is also, it's, you have to find ways to connect with your audience, and I'm in awe of everyone who has, I don't know about mastering the technology, but at least finding ways to harness it so that it can be utilized.
Well, you've been pretty good, Randy. I would do none of it.
Wow.
I can do Zoom calls. I can organize Zoom calls, and that's about it.
One of the things that we were doing before the pandemic was we had released a book. Can I show it to you?
Of course.
It's called Sharon Lois and Bram's Skinnamarink.
Wow.
And it's
Which, by the way, I have to read as part of bedtime stories or something like that. Continue on.
a children's picture book of the song Skinnamarink with beautiful illustrations on it.
Wow.
And,
Love that.
Oh, it's beautiful. The illustrator is brilliant. Randy wrote all the new, the song on its own as it has existed over all these many years would not be long enough to make a book. It would be called, we said it would be a pamphlet. So Randy figured that we should be the ones in control of new lyrics, not leave it to, the publisher or whatever. So
Wow.
Randy wrote all the new words that are in there, and they're really wonderful, and they make a beautiful book out of it. And you add to that the wonderful illustrations. We're thrilled about it, and it's only the beginning.
Yeah.
So we wrote the new book. Sharon and Bram recorded it as a single, and we've been working on the next two books during the pandemic. So the second book is going to be One Elephant Went Out to Play, and
Just the name of One Elephant was the name of our first record.
And it was the theme song of their TV series. And
Wow.
so I wrote, it's the Jungle Friends edition of the book. So I wrote new words for the song. And with our producer, Glenn Morley, he and I worked together over Zoom to create the musical accompaniment for the song. And then we went into the recording studio during the pandemic to record. So we had to go in individually.
The rules were so strict. It was an absolutely novel experience for us. We never recorded separately, and then everybody knew what they were doing, where they were singing, what they were singing, but we never did that without having rehearsed it that way and putting it all together.
So Sharon and Bram and I rehearsed over Zoom with Elaine Overholt, our vocal coach, and Glenn Morley, the producers, but you could never hear how the three parts were going to sound together until after it was recorded.
Well, I'm in Texas.
Now, you'll be reassured to know that sorry to interrupt you, but you'll be reassured to know that they do sound all right together, even better than all right.
Wow.
I have no doubt that they do. And I would say I'm in Texas, and we're now a lot more open. So I can just imagine the difficulties of doing that. But I want to go here real quick because what I think is so impressive, obviously Sharon, Lois, and Bram, you're legends. You're legends in this industry.
Yeah.
What you've done, it's incredible. But you've done such an amazing job over the years of keeping it going.
Yeah.
And keeping the themes going and the brand going, and I just think that's amazing what you've done over all these years.
It has had some ebb and flow over the many years. We started 40 plus years ago. I can't remember, 47.
Going on 43.
43 years ago. And we didn't know we were starting a career. We thought we were making a record, and really the response is what launched the career.
Wow.
After about 20 years, Lois's husband died, and she kind of lost her spirit, so she retired. We stayed closely in touch.
Wow.
And if there were important things to work out, I'm sorry. She, we did them together. So, and then Bram and I went out touring on a smaller scale. I mean, the first many years were with a big band and all over North America, and then when Bram and I carried on, we carried on in a smaller, we both had kind of folk music, coffee house roots, and so we went out with a smaller, simpler show, which we did for quite a few years and we liked. And then Randi got involved and decided that there should be more going on here. and we planned a 40th anniversary, huge, very big Canadian tour. And there was TV, of course, in between. We did TV, we did 2 different series and many specials. So it wasn't a clever marketing plan that kept it all going. It was just the way our lives evolved. I mean, we wanted to sing, we wanted to perform. Yeah. And finding a way to do that was what mattered.
When there was a record industry, the executives loved Sharon Lewis and Bram's music because they called it evergreen, which is every year there's new fans being created. So at their 40th anniversary tour, they were experiencing 4 generations of family members coming to concerts together. They had great grandparents down to the babies. So Bram decided he was ready to retire. Sharon, thankfully, is not. So she and I are just trying to share what could be wrong with wanting to make music with children and their families, to sing together and to share that. So
it's the best experience.
Yeah.
And it's so astounding to think this past year plus, that you're not allowed to sing. I mean, we can sing with each other, we're in the same bubble, but the idea that children go to school and can't sing, not that they go to school here anymore, they're at home, but I mean, the notion that you can't sing together is sad.
Yeah.
Well, it's something I did for 20 years, and there's nothing like a live audience, and there's nothing like that interaction. They know all the words, and I know they know all the words to all of your songs. And when you started out as individuals. Is that correct? That Sharon, Lois, and Bram, you were all individuals.
We all 3, Lois, Bram, and I, were individual singers. We sang in Bram and I sang in coffee houses. We did a lot of singing in schools, and Lois and I worked with preschool children in the libraries, and we were all colleagues. We were friends through a program called Mariposa in the schools, which put performers into schools on a freelance basis for a day, where you'd sing with 4 or 5 groups of classes of children. And then we decided to make a record, and it was a very spontaneous kind of thing, and we hadn't ever performed together, and then we started working on, we shared values about what children should get and equality and those kinds of things. And the first time we ever sang together was preparing the record. Wow. So it was certainly unexpected.
Wow. I was listening to some more of your music this morning, and I think, part of that connection is that it's, I don't know that you don't, sometimes children's music can talk down to the kids. It feels like folk music that has children's subject matter to it, and obviously I also love the fact that you have some French in there as well.
Wow.
I was sitting there as an adult singing and listening to it and enjoying it as much as I know children would.
Wow.
We said on our first record, we wrote on the front of it, a children's record for the whole family, and that really has always been our intent. There are old pop songs that the parents or grandparents would be familiar with. There are traditional songs. We're a bilingual country, so it was natural to include French, and we sang in French as well.
Wow. We had some nice feedback recently. Again, during the tour, one of the reporters was of Trinidadian descent, I believe, and she said growing up, hearing her music on a children's record was really profound for her. And then another gentleman, Bram has wonderful language skills and really good accent, and there's a song called Caballito Blanco. And a Hispanic producer talked about how authentic the song was and how much he also loved hearing it growing up. So
I've never heard this story.
It was
wow.
Yeah, his language is, he's a great linguist. He's great in French, he's great in Spanish. Of course, it's been known to get him into trouble.
Wow.
He and I were on a trip, we were on a music industry trip in France, and he would get into a taxi and start talking, he would start talking French, and he sounds very convincing. And so the driver would respond to him. It was too fast and good for Bram, and he's like,
Man.
Mostly he did beautifully, actually.
So Carrie, it occurred to me when Sharon, Lewis, and Bram first started out, they had a mascot who was an elephant.
Wow.
And from time to time, I would be inside the elephant costume. And
I love it.
The experience of not being able to see very well, and sometimes kids would grab and pull, and occasionally we'd be on a revolving stage and I couldn't find my way off, that sort of thing. It occurred to me you probably had some similar experiences yourself.
Absolutely, we did.
Yeah,
I didn't realize you were in the elephant. Yes, absolutely. I had to learn a lot over the years.
Yeah, so.
Seeing and understanding where kids were and all of those things, because these characters, as you know, the kids are real.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't have someone holding my hand or anything like that. And so, yeah, you had to really learn to understand a room, and you had to learn the emotions with kids too, because, sometimes kids are shy, so you can't be too big of movements, and then sometimes, so you learn a lot from that. But I love that, Randy, that you did that.
Wow.
You were just mentioning this, and it really, to me, is the key to entertaining kids, and it's the authenticity. Kids can tell that, and I think with your music, that's probably a really big part of why they connected. Obviously, the subject matters as well, but they can tell.
Wow.
They feel the attitude. I mean, the thing is that we three, and now four, we've always been fond of children, so we don't have to pretend to like what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We like music, we like singing, we like sharing music and singing, we like kids.
Wow.
So doing it together for children, one did not have to pretend.
Wow.
It was a natural behavior. People recognize that, as you say.
It also helped that they're not songwriters. They're, I call them curators.
Wow.
So they always had good taste in music, and they also had help in terms of finding good songs. So,
You found us some great songs.
And my dad did a lot of vocal arrangements for them, and he actually did, from time to time they hosted the Santa Claus parade. It's like,
wow.
hey, we need a parade song. So my dad wrote a parade song, and because he was steeped in the folk music industry too, among other genres, he had an amazing ability to make a new song feel like an old song.
For sure. And he wrote a song called The Very Best Band, and he wrote it initially for us to record with a band, introducing various instruments. And we sang, and then the instrument would play. It was wonderful. Mm-hmm. And then he evolved it. When we started doing symphony shows, he evolved it for a symphony orchestra. And we actually got an arrangement of it that we hated. And so back to the drawing board, and Joe, my late husband, did the arrangement for the orchestra. It's pretty thrilling.
Wow.
To have a song that he wrote, arranged for symphony orchestra, and we performed it. So we had a lot of good help. And we always, in terms of our recording, the work that we did, we always chose the best possible. Arrangers, musicians. We weren't going to take the cheap wig because it was for kids.
Wow.
We figured they deserved the best that was possible, and we tried to achieve that.
And I think you did achieve that. What, for you, Sharon, is it like when you record these albums, and then all of a sudden they're platinum, and then you're winning these awards? This is something you wanted to go entertain children, and all of a sudden, all these awards are coming, and the sales are coming, and you realize that you've really hit something here.
It was all really completely unexpected. I mean, when we put out the first record, we debated should we release 5,000 or 10,000, and we couldn't. 10,000 was too much of a financial risk, And so we
Okay.
released 5,000 records, and they sold out really quickly. It was shocking. So the response, in a way, for the first few years of our career, we were running to keep up. So much was happening, and it was all very exciting and stimulating. I mean, we knew nothing about the music business in that way, about the recording business, about touring, about all of that stuff. It was a steep learning curve for us, and it was stimulating. It was exciting.
So, to the awards part of the question, I have, I think it's a funny story to tell about their first Juno Award win.
Okay.
Junos are the Canadian version of the Grammys.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, they're a very big deal.
So so it was their second nomination, and the event was being held in Toronto where we live, so we were invited to attend. And then they asked Sharon, Lois, and Bram if they would be presenters on the Junos. So I said, it'd be fun to have the elephant up there with them for the presentation.
Wow.
So I got dressed up for the event, but we took the costume down, and just before it was time for them to go on and present, I went backstage and I put on the costume, and I went over to wait at the wings. And I noticed a man in a tuxedo sort of didn't look artsy like the rest of the people, and he kept pulling a paper out of his pocket and putting it back in again. And so I said, "Is that the winners?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, Sharon, Lois, and Bram are nominated later in the show, and if they might be happening to win, the elephant could go back up on stage with them. And he said, "Keep the costume on."
I love that.
We definitely won that one.
I love that. So now, Randy, when did you get into all of this? Did you realize as a child what was going on, and how did you get connected?
So, having two musical parents, music was very much a part of our lives always. And I was 13 when they recorded their first record. So I was always coming home with songs and saying, "Hey, this is a good one, that's a good one," and introducing them through camp and other things. And then when I was a teenager in the summers, I worked in their office. And then in my 20s, I tried to search for content and repertoire for their TV series. So I was always involved in some way, and I loved being around it. I was always hanging out in the studio, and Lois's son just happens to be one of my best and oldest friends. And so
our families were all very connected. The Sharon, Lois, and Bram families. Yeah. We always were.
Yes, they actually, Lois's son and I went to nursery school when we were 3, so we knew each other even before our mothers did. So we spent a few years living in California, as I did as an adult, and that's where Lois's son David lives. And anytime something special was happening, we would go together to it. So they recorded a Christmas album in Los Angeles, so David and I flew down to LA to be part of it. Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center, we'd fly to New York to go see them in concert. We flew to Hawaii to see the end of a tour.
And go swimming.
Yeah. It was the tour that brought us to Hawaii.
Right.
So they decided to have a 35th anniversary party, and they were planning it. And they just said, "Would you just help us a little bit?" And I ended up, planning it and hosting it. And, I was watching how hard Bram and my mom were working. So I just started, sitting in on meetings. And I decided if they were going to, or if Bram was going to retire, I really wanted it to be, I wanted them to be honored and recognized. And they weren't going to do that themselves. So I stepped in to just manage them and work with the tour booker and the record company and do everything that I could to make sure that they had a really good farewell. And I think I accomplished it.
And it's grown. It's grown. I mean, she's working on 2 books for us now, which Graham and I probably would not have moved forward on any of that stuff. So it's great to see it happening without too much energy on us.
So Sharon, what is it like working with your daughter?
Fortunately, we seem to get along quite well. And when we don't, she lets me know. It's very exciting for me. As I said earlier, working with Randi and her sons, I mean, what more could a mother, grandmother hope for? And the fact that they have music in that they all have music in their lives and that makes their lives better is, it's wonderful.
So when we did the 40th anniversary tour, we were traveling all across Canada. So it was my mom and I and Bram, and then 3 musicians with us as well. Grant Slater on keyboards, Kirk Elliott on many instruments, fiddle, bass, banjo, and then Steve Heathcote on drums. And they had been performing with Sharon and Bram for 30 of the last 40 years. Like a really, really nice, tight, connected group. And I was commenting because Grant just turned 70.
Looks 50, turns 70.
That even though we're flying together and then we're driving to places and then we're, backstage doing sound check, and then that at the end of the evening, we would go to someone's room just to hang out and have a drink maybe and talk about the day and laugh and just, everyone really enjoyed each other's company.
Wow.
And my mom and I shared a room, like everyone else had their own room, and we shared a room. We're used to being around each other, and it works really well. And honestly, for the most part, she's just very happy for me to, take the lead on things and look after it, so that it works really well for both of us.
I'm tired.
Wow. Wow.
They would go to the other rooms, one of the band's rooms. They'd all get together, and I'd stick my head in and say hi and go to bed. Yes.
Well, you've been going for a while. It doesn't look like you're getting anywhere close to stopping, Sharon.
No, I guess not. I have pretty good energy.
She just turned 78.
Wow. Well,
yeah.
I can't tell, and I can tell but I can tell you've got a lot of energy.
I'm usually pretty good. Yesterday, after a 2-hour bike ride with breaks, I went home and collapsed on my sofa. So the energy has some momentum, and then it runs out.
So I learned very early on when I was doing Barney that there's a real responsibility.
Yeah.
That different than other, if you're just a singer, or if you're singing to adults and things of that nature. There's a real responsibility to kids.
Yeah.
I was 23 years old. I had to learn that lesson quick.
Yeah.
Back when I was performing, Barney couldn't be tired. He couldn't be sad. He was there to entertain and show love and all of those things. When did you start realizing this was a little bit different than coffee house audiences, and these kids know all your songs and they look up to you and love what you do?
First of all, my experience prior to Sharon Lois and Bram was primarily in the children's arena, in the arena of children's music. So I did sing in coffee houses a bit, but I didn't do a lot of that. But the 3 of us, we never thought of our music as teaching. We thought about what we were singing because we didn't want to put bad messages out there, but it wasn't to teach arithmetic or spelling, or sometimes there were songs that happened to teach those things, but we chose them because they were good songs.
Okay.
In terms of how you behave with children, I think what happened is just a natural reflection of who we are. We like kids. We understand their needs. And you learn things over time. For example, we used to sing in a cabin in the woods, little man at the window stood, saw a rabbit hopping by frightened. Help me, the rabbit said, or that hunter will shoot me dead. Now that was the song, and we sang it for some years like that. And then in Philadelphia one day, a woman came backstage And she said, in this country, you can't do that. You can't say it and you can't do it because guns are too prevalent. Well, that day we changed it. We just needed someone to enlighten us about that. It was, so of course you think about messages, you want to make sure that the messages are right. And if they're not, then you fix them.
Yeah.
But I think that our relationship with children is just a natural result of who we are.
And they also, I know for me, because I was at the merch table during the tour, if they
Randi, it sounds like you've done everything.
It's true.
They, if they were going to do a meet and greet, they would wait until every person standing in line was finished. And Bram would sometimes say, "Don't worry, we're gonna meet you all." So we would have to, when it would be busy, we would have to manage that, like to tell the house, we can only see, you can't do an hour show and then do an hour and a half meet and greet after.
Right.
It's exhausting. But they always had time for their fans in any setting. And including, people with developmental challenges and physical disabilities, and trying to find ways to connect with them.
Yeah.
I actually heard an amazing story recently of a family that has a woman who has a brother he's nonverbal, and their elephant show tapes were wearing out, and she was looking for a set of the series because he communicated with them by finding messages in the episodes. So he could tell them how he was feeling. He was feeling sad or hungry. He used the episodes to communicate with them.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to talk about that because I did for years hospital visits, Make-A-Wish, and it changed my life. The children are just absolutely incredible. What was those experiences like? When a lot of times you think you're going into somewhere that's sad, and I never went to a hospital, it was never sad. These kids would smile, they were seeing their friend, they were happy, they would sing the songs. What was that like for you all?
Well, we did all of what you're describing, of course. We had a Wish Foundation child who came in 1988 to Toronto from Arizona with his mother and his two brothers and a grandmother and a cousin. And we're still this many years later, we're still strongly connected. We have an adult fan with whom we are extremely connected. And he was a Wish child as well when he was about 10, Ron. And he's a wonderful musician, wonderful musician. And so
the Arizona family 100% said that Sharon Bram saved her son's life.
Yeah.
He was waiting for a kidney transplant, and he was in the hospital, and they watched the shows all the time. And
we would call him.
They would phone him.
Every week we'd call him. We encouraged them to read because he wasn't a great reader. And the mother loved that we helped with that. So, and we went into hospitals. Mostly what you're doing gives a little pleasure, but it's tough to see such sick kids. And I do recall that we were once in Winnipeg, and we were in the hospital there, and we were in a burn unit, and the kids are wearing these masks, and it takes the heart out of you. But then I remember, it was either later that day or the next day, we were leaving the concert hall after a concert, and we came out the stage door, and there were a bunch of kids, those kids in their masks. So they've been there at the concert, so it's kind of a comfort to know that you brought them some fun. That stuff is tough, but we've seen a lot of sick kids, and we've seen kids who are non-communicative, but somehow find a way through the music. I think it's miraculous, actually, that they find a way to communicate because of the music.
Well, it really is. I had the experience of going to a burn unit as well, and thinking I'm going into I knew it was going to be tough, but a sad place. And this little girl singing the I Love You song to Barney, And at the end, I blow a kiss, and she says, "Barney, I love you." And I'm thinking, how, and you know, the the spirit of the spirit of these children are just incredible. I'm really glad you brought that up, Sharon, because we found with Barney the importance of music. Kids just really respond to music, um, the singing, the interaction, all of that. What do you think it is about the music that they really just connect with?
You know, I don't really know. I mean, I think it's amazing. I mean, I remember seeing really early in our career, someone sent us a video of our record. It was a record still playing on a turntable, and her non-communicative kid was climbing on the chair and climbing on the table to get closer to the music. I don't know. There's something about music that goes to where conversation or reaching out in other ways just doesn't work. And I don't know, take a smarter person than me to figure out what it is, but I'm grateful that it does.
And I have been on our social media. We have a lot of challenged adults, and we get a lot of messages about bullying, for example. We recently joined TikTok, and many First Nations adults have said, "I grew up in a challenging environment, and you were a comfort to me and a place where I felt safe."
Yeah.
We have a lot of adult fans who say that there was something about their connection to Sharon, Lois, and Bram that provided them comfort and safety.
Yeah.
They're adults now, and they still associate these happy memories with their childhood, and the adults with developmental challenges are they're the first people to buy tickets when we do a virtual concert. They want to continue to have that connection. So there's whatever it is, it's fairy dust or magic, it's real.
It is. It's amazing. We actually have a lot of fans of Purple Roads that are the autistic that follow Barney and have continued to follow this, and they just inspire me. We get messages all the time about they really want to show their stories, and they really want to that it doesn't hold them back. And things like Barney and Sharon, Lois, and Bram mean the world to them. And I think it's because they get to be them. We don't see them any difference. You don't change the songs. You don't change. Everything is the same, and they are treated equally. And I love that you're able to give them that outlet.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
We were talking earlier about the kinds of songs that we've sung. Did you choose the songs, or were they chosen by the production team that you sang, the songs that you sang?
Yeah, so they did some of the old classics, and then they would do, they would write songs as well. And so when I would go out, like say for a sing-along, we would pick the most popular ones that we would go out and do. And obviously I Love You was always there. But it was really the ones where there was a connection. The hand movements and all of those things that kids could really relate to. And I back in my early days, I didn't have kids, and my friends would try to understand it, and I said, there's nothing like singing the I Love You song in front of 1,000 kids, and they're hugging and kissing their parents. The connection, I don't care what age you are, there's no way that doesn't affect you.
Yeah, exactly.
You're absolutely right.
And we have people who say that Skinnamarink was their father-daughter dance at their wedding.
Wow.
It's of course the song that everyone, when you want the bride and groom to kiss, you clink your glasses, or you have to sing a love song. And of course every wedding has Skinnamarink at it. We've been singing it in Thailand, and we were in Africa just before the pandemic hit, and we were with some friends in a community, and they had been singing it there with them, and we all sang it together. And when we sang "I Love You Too, Boop Boopy Doo Mwah," they started laughing and cheering, and then we had to sing the song again so that they could do it with us. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And it's a song that you never tire of. I'm sure you feel the same way. I mean, some songs you think, oh, I'm going to do it again, but never Skinnamarink, because it's an example of love and affection that's shared within families to us, all of that. I know you understand that.
Well, I do, and not only that, but when you're talking about it, I'm smiling. I can't stop smiling. I think that's what's so great about it. It just is pure joy.
Yeah.
It's just fun and joy, and obviously I love that you're talking about love with that.
I agree.
But having a song like that, it's just fun. Which
Yeah.
I think we all need. We needed it then, and we definitely need it now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there's a Broadway show called Come From Away, which do you know about it?
One of my friends is actually in it. She was the voice of Baby Bop, and she is in the touring production of that show.
Oh, wow. Which is, she's probably, I mean, there are many projections of it all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
The man and woman who created the show grew up on Sharon, Lois, and Bram, as it turned out. I mean, we were so excited to meet each other because we saw the show and loved it. But that's a show about kindness and related specifically to 9/11. But people yearn for goodness. Everybody needs some kindness. Everybody needs to see kindness. Just like we give them a love song so they can hug each other and feel good about that. We all need that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We do, and I love that you're out there not only doing it but continuing to do it. Well, I want to talk about, because I was watching the video of Let's Talk About Peace, and I think it's really interesting and important. Sometimes you have songs that are just fun, but then you have songs that are that's a message. And I was watching that video. It didn't feel, there's a message there, but I wasn't being hit over the head with it. It was an upbeat that you're singing it, and then you just start singing it with it. Where did that all come from? Where did the video come from?
I'm really tickled that you watched it. So
the video. Yeah. Now I was thinking which video, because we did it years ago on the Elephant Show. But you're talking about the video. Oh, that was a spontaneous idea.
So my dad wrote that song probably 50 years ago.
Wow.
And he was in a folk group called the Travelers, and they recorded it, and it was an anthem at our camps and our in our community, and very, very connected to my family. We're Jewish. We sing that song every year at Passover, and we love it.
Yeah.
And just at the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, I want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started. Bram is my neighbor. He lives 2 doors over. So
I love the connection.
But we had recorded it already, right?
Sharon and Bram had recorded it as a single, and they had performed it all throughout their tour. And in one of the venues, a woman said to me, "We need more peace songs. Thank you for singing a peace song to my children. They need to hear these messages now."
Mm-hmm.
So I just started reaching out. So my cousins are in the video, and my kids, and our musicians, and then the people that my mom was talking about, the Wish Kid. He's in there, and a good friend of ours named Josh Lovelace, who's with a group called Need to Breathe out of Nashville.
I know them well.
Wow.
And Splash and Boots is in it.
Yes, and Nick and Tess said that they would join in. So it was really,
and everybody did it themselves from their home because we were all in lockdown. We couldn't get together and have this experience. Yeah. So in their own home, each person or couple or whatever did their thing.
Or Colin Mockery from Whose Line Is It Anyway? He recorded a single with Sharon and Bram, so he and his wife did it. Anyway, we were completely overwhelmed by the response to it. It just, we thought that people would look at it, but all of a sudden, thousands of people are sharing it, and on Facebook we were up to like 150,000 views. So that was for
Pretty
us. That was
exciting.
very, very, very cool.
Well, it's so well done. It's kind of, once again, it
Well,
wasn't preachy. It's not preachy. It's very positive, very upbeat. You can tell everyone's enjoying themselves.
So I'm going to give credit to a very good friend of ours. Her name is JC Don Valeris. She put it all together, and she is someone who's become a friend. She lives in Asheville. She was a huge fan growing up. She says that her career is a direct result of her first concert when she was 3 years old. And the way we connected to her was she wrote a fan letter to Lois.
Wow.
And sent it to our booking agent, and it just happened that Lois was dying when she sent that letter. So my mom read it to her at her bedside.
Wow.
And then I reached out to JC and introduced her to some of the other
adult fans,
grown-up fans here.
Yeah.
And they made a community, and she helps us with some of our work, but she's a really good friend with another adult fan, Chris, who also has been connected since forever, and Roy, who's the
they're all in it. All three of them are in the video too.
Yeah, of course. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
We like to include our family and friends when we can.
Well, it sounds like it's all these years you've done that. I think it's just part of Sharon, Lois, and Bram.
Wow.
Sharon, I want to ask you a couple questions on the early days. So you record the albums. When did the TV show come up? When was the idea to do a TV show?
We recorded the album in '78. We recorded and released in '78, and we went back to our individual work. Going into the schools individually for a little while, not very long, because we started to be called on to do concerts in other places, which was very exciting and unexpected. The first TV thing we did was a special
for CTV, and that's what reminded me is it was with a live audience of children, and when I
think she remembers
came
all
out,
this stuff.
It was a CTV TV.
Oh yeah,
station.
for sure.
Remember the kids were all sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
And when I came out
in the costume,
they mauled me. They were like pulling and tugging, and it was total chaos.
Lessons learned from that experience.
But her story about the TV series is that people kept saying, "Hey, do you want to do a TV series?" And Sharon and Bram would say, "Sure."
Yeah, and they'd say, "Have you got money?" And we'd say, "No." So they'd go away, and then one day, this young couple of guys who were not fathers themselves, they were uncles at that point. That's how they knew about us. They came to us and said, "Want to do a TV series?" We said, "Sure." And they went and found the money. We started with the special.
No, they said, "Do you have money?" And Arnie and Bruce said yes, but they didn't. They figured they would find a way to get the money.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're two lovely guys, and so they initially did a special, Sharon, Lois, and Bram at Young People's Theater. Young People's Theater is a wonderful children's theater here in town, and it's the first place that we performed. I guess it was our first concert was there.
Mm-hmm.
And what we did was we did 3 individual workshops in the space, which they filmed, and we would teach them parts of 3 different songs, like Fish and Chips and Vinegar. Bram would teach his group 1 bottle pop, 2 bottle pop, 3 bottle pop, and Lois would teach her group Fish and Chips and Vinegar, and I would teach Don't Throw Me. Anyway, each group would learn their own part, and then when we got into the concert hall for the concert part of that video or shooting, we put it all together, and so that was kind of the first thing that we did, and they had a great response to that. They were very excited about it, the producers, and had a lot of interest right away, and so that morphed into the beginning of the Elephant Show. We shot Elephant Show from '84 to '88, so it was like 6 years after we first started. Pretty good. And we did 5 years of that. We probably could have kept going.
Then they did a really, really good holiday special in '93. Candle, Snow, and Mistletoe.
Beautiful.
And it's people still, like, they've preserved their copies of it because you can't get it anywhere. And, you know, none of us knew how television and music was going to change and evolve, so we didn't
Make arrangements
organize
for the long term.
to be able to use things in the future. So
Which is sad, because it's a great show, it's a great message, it's beautiful, and it's not religious at all, but it's about the holidays and about what you can accomplish when you work together.
And
So
then
it's
we
lovely.
did Skinnamarink TV.
And then we did Skinnamarink TV in 97 and 98,
Wow.
which was like a takeoff on
SCTV.
SCTV. So each of us was, anyway, it was fun. It was a very different kind of show for us. So we loved TV. We loved doing TV.
That one I really admired because the Elephant Show was really Sharon, Lois, and Bram being Sharon, Lois, and Bram. And when they did Skinnamarink TV, they had to learn how to act. Like, none of them were actors, and they played all of these different characters. Lois had a character called Kenny G. Whiz, you know, news reporter, and Bram was Professor and Dick's Joke Emporium, and my mother was the singing sage. She was like a fortune teller, and Leanna Brianna Smith.
Yes, for Leanna
news
Brianna Smith.
reporter.
I was a news reporter. I wore a hot picnic suit,
Wow.
and big glasses. And one day we were working on the show, and I had a doctor's appointment, and they said, we'll reorganize the schedule so you could go, but I could only go if I went immediately, dressed unrecognizably like this. I went to the doctor. She did the doctor's appointment, never said a word to me about the way I was there.
Wow.
She's a bit crazy. Anyway, it was fun. It was a big learning curve, but it was really fun to do, for sure.
I love that. I'm curious. So when you all started, what did each of you bring to the songs? Let's say, for example, so did one of you come up with the ideas, or one do the music, or was it just collaborative?
We brainstormed. Everybody would come with a list of songs, a list of ideas. We brainstormed, you know, the different songs, and we had to like them. First of all, we had to like the song, you know, and we worked also with a producer. We had wonderful producers. We worked with Paul Mills here in town for many, many years on many of our records, and so it was real collaboration. Bram used to say Lois had 1,000 ideas for everybody else's 100. Bram said what Lois really needed was a good editor. But she had lots and lots of ideas. She brought to the mix, she brought the pop genre. That's what she grew up on, and that's what she loved. We all knew some of that music, but she knew it in spades. And so she always brought that. Bram and I brought more folky stuff. But we were all open to all the possibilities, and we really wanted to have a real variety of music on the albums. And working with a creative producer helped us to figure out different ways to present the music.
And for many years, my dad did vocal arrangements for them, and Bram says that he really taught Lois and Bram how to sing harmony. My mom knew how to sing harmony, but they did complex vocal arrangements, and he worked very hard with them. On one song that Bram recorded, he was singing in Bram's ear, so he could find his line. Bram was singing all the parts in that one. I think he was singing the harmonies too.
Wow.
Riding along, singing a cowboy song.
I remember that.
Wow.
I remember the song, of course.
But Lois loved pop standards. She loved the American Songbook. She loved Broadway show tunes. And so she was always keen to sing those. My mom liked the quiet, gentle moments, finger play and lullabies and that sort of thing. And Bram loved to do call and response songs. That was sort of one of his areas. So over time it changed and morphed, but because we learned how to do different kinds of stuff because of what each other did.
Wow.
Which was all of which was good.
So what's the I know they got the 2 books coming out. What other plans you have, especially hopefully before too long everyone will start opening up and getting back out again. What plans do you have?
So we just recently unearthed our keyboard player Grant had been recording from the soundboard about 7 years of tour concerts. So we are listening to those right now and hoping to curate a live album release for the fall.
Wow.
We recorded when Elephant went out to play, so we're going to release that as a single. The first book is coming out. That book is coming out next May, and then the book after that, which is Peanut Butter Jelly.
I know
I
that song.
am allergic to peanuts. Sorry. Continue on.
I have performed that a couple times myself.
One's a big favorite,
It's a good one.
and that book will come out in 2 years, right?
No, it's going to come out in September 2022. So
Yeah, that's months before my mom's retirement year when she's gonna finish her book. Continue on.
a few months apart, so that's a big deal. We have some gigs that are on hold right now. We're waiting for things to open up enough for us to be allowed to do live music. We've each had our first vaccine here, which is very important.
And I'm going to have my second one in the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
Yeah, which, by the way, I have 2 vaccines back in this past January. Continue on.
Yes. And we're also working on. I've been trying for years to get a producer for a documentary film about the trio, which is really it's about the trio, but it's about their fans, because I think that they have really interesting fans with interesting stories, and I think it's a nice way to tell the story of the group is through their fans. So I've been working on that, and we are talking about Coco Melon and Baby Shark and those types of things. We would love to do an animated channel of Sharon and Brand music.
Yeah.
So that's on my wish list as well.
So there's no rest.
I
got a lot.
hope not. I'm a family lawyer in my other life, and I'm much happier giving joy to children. So, hopefully just keep the legacy going.
Yeah.
Aren't I lucky?
You are lucky. You're both lucky to have each other, and it's just been a pleasure to have you both on. Is there any way I could get a little skinamarink?
Oh, sure.
Could you sing a little?
Yeah. You pick the key. Yeah, just the short version, right? Skinnamarink-y dinky dink, skinnamarink-y doo. I love you.
Oh, jeez.
Skinnamarink-y dinky dink, skinnamarink-y doo. I love you. Put up the sun. I love you in the morning and in the afternoon. I love you in the evening underneath the moon. Skinnamarink-y dinky dink, skinnamarink-y doo. I love you too. Boop boopy doo. Mwah.
What an absolute pleasure. What an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure talking with you too.
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
Nice to meet you.
Well, it's a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much. And I will keep an eye out to see everything you've got going on.
Thanks.
Which, by the way, I did saw the skimmerink dink thing when they do part, which I've done, and I'm like, what the? But anyway, I did this Boring Jokes episode 8 on We Sing Together. I'm like, okay, that is not good. Continue on.
Thank you so much for watching Purple Roads. Remember to keep your eyes, ears, and your heart open, and you'll find your purple road. I'll see you next week.
So that was Purple Roads, episode number 73. What do I think about this episode? It was amazing. Before we end this episode right here, I'm going to go ahead and celebrate Independence Day with 2 more things. One, an Alex Perez video of celebrating Independence Day. Happy Independence Day from Alex Perez. Let's begin that in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Happy Independence Day from Alex Perez. I just wanted to make this quick video wishing you all a happy Independence Day. And I hope you're having a good time with family and friends celebrating American independence. Yeah, I agree. Continue on. God bless America. I agree, Alex. America, let freedom breathe on happy announcements. And one more thing before we actually end off this episode, and that is, of course, the 25. KPR TV, and then we'll end this episode right here. And that's from the 25. Happy Independence Day for the 25. And we did the 25. Wish everyone a happy Independence Day. We all had a great time celebrating with friends and family. Yeah. Especially, and don't forget, including my mother, Kim Possible. Joking! Okay, but in all seriousness, let's begin this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Happy Independence Day from the 25 KPR TV. Okay. We'd like to wish you all a happy 4th and hope you all having a great, good time celebrating with your family and friends. I agree. Continue on. God bless the United States of America. I agree, Alex. I agree. America, let freedom resign happy announcements. Anyway, so that was the 25's KBR TV's Happy Independence Day special. What did I think about it? It was amazing. So far, this video went to be a success. Anyways, guys, double episode of LJPCBM episode 674. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one. It's going to be LJ Reacts episode 675. Spin for a Million Revival on season 1, episode 2. Till next time, so Jefferson, goodbye. Peace out, baby. Good watch Reacts, guys. Very soon. Till then, Jefferson out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening, but I tried all the time. I ask, why me? Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception is the question, and the giver holds the key.